Hello everyone, this is Tomo, the editor-in-chief of Future Sync. My memorable first guest was inspired by the YouTube program Neutrality Studies that I used to watch every day, and I had dinner with him at a restaurant in Tokyo to discuss the current critical international situation. He is a true journalist, more than just an associate professor, who uploads daily interview videos with celebrities and experts from various countries on the latest international affairs in Japan at an astonishing speed. And he has now become my irreplaceable friend. He specialized on the study of neutrality in international relations, geopolitics in East Asia, European politics, nuclear non-proliferation, and the study of the Second World War. Now, the journey of the interview begins. First of all, I would like to ask Pascal about the assassinations or attempted assassinations of heads of state or mysterious accidental deaths that have been occurring frequently in the past few years. The assassination of my country's former Prime Minister, Abe of Japan, was also a shock, and as you know, President Trump suffered 3 assassination attempts during his elections. So, what I am trying to say is that we are living in an era of terrorism where there are forces that use violence to their advantage by eliminating key figures in countries and governments. So let me start the first installment with something a bit serious, but it is very important, so please watch the dialogue between Pascal and I. Here we go.
Japan former Prime Minister Abe was assassinated, and Slovakia's Prime Minister attempt, and Trump has had 3 assassination attempts in Iran. President Raisi has mysteriously crashed, and we are still unmarried that we hear every day as normal news, and that it's enough to kill the head of the country anyway. As a root of this Trotsky global violent revolution, says that violence is necessary to revolution. If we don't resist it thoughtfully, we are living in an age when the most important human lives for mankind are being thrown away in the trash. With to hear your opinion on this.
Well, you just asked, or you spoke about a lot of things. So first of all, maybe assassinations, political assassinations are unfortunately still something quite normal. Having high offices around the world is a dangerous thing to do. There's a lot of US presidents who actually died in office, and some violently, some not, but you know, Lincoln and JFK, and the assassination attack at Mr. Trump is obviously politically motivated. The sometimes very bizarre things happen, like the assassination of former Japanese Prime Minister Abe happened after he was out of office.
Yes.
And it happened basically by an individual who disliked him for something very minute and particular, and it didn't really serve the purpose of trying to influence the way that the Japanese political system went. There are other instances in which they do. So the death of Mr. President Raisi in Iran. I mean, at this point, the Iranians and the Americans and everybody is saying it was an accident, and it probably was, because if you look at the weather conditions that this helicopter flew in, it looks like something that could happen. That helicopter didn't fall out of the blue sky. It fell in very bad conditions. So I mean, sometimes leaders also die because of bad luck. The issue, though, the second one, that there are what sometimes is called the deep state or the permanent state. That is the nature of how modern governments function, right? You have a big bureaucracy, and the bureaucracy stays. They are like the people in the university who govern, who manage the university. They're the people who manage the ministries. Those are career bureaucrats who are necessary in order to have a functioning state. The problem is when the people in the higher levels of these bureaucracies start wanting to influence politics in one way or another, and especially if you have certain worldviews gathering there, then once the political decision-making part comes in, they are not able to basically change the direction of these ministries or of these this bureaucratic apparatus, because they themselves don't have enough knowledge, right? The political leadership often doesn't have enough knowledge of how the bureaucracy that they are in charge of actually works. And there's a million ways in which bureaucrats who've been in these systems for 20, 30, 40 years then can oppose political decisions without officially saying so. And especially in the United States, this is a big point of the Trump campaign, and Trump has promised to dismantle this deep state, or to make sure that bureaucrats again listen to what politicians tell them. Now, whether or not he's able to actually do that is a huge question. And people like John Mearsheimer said, when it comes to foreign policy making, the decision-making power of this permanent state is probably going to win over Donald Trump. So only time will tell, but it is a problem that you cannot eliminate just because of the way that the modern nation states are organized, because you need a lot of people to administer big countries, even small countries. You still need a lot of people. And those people will naturally have their own ideas. We are living in this sociological problem that thinking that it's Donald Trump who governs the US, or Vladimir Putin, Russia, or Xi Jinping, China, and if they push a button, then that happens. That's not the way it works. It's much more complex, and that's one of the things that political scientists actually also try to study, to at least get a little bit of a feeling for the mechanics of governing a country.
Okay, the Hamas and Israel war has thoroughly, but I was astonished to hear an interview with a doctor who was sent to Gaza. She said that she had been many places in Africa, including a civil war, but that she had never seen such a terrible situation, and that it was like Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Here is 40,000 of that, but the body. So this member that it's impossible to more than the 3,000 people died. The figure exists that the deaths toll from the atomic bombing of the Hiroshima and Nagasaki. When I saw the image I was in shock and could not recover for several minutes. The horrific condition of the bombed cities that we Japanese have been taught about since we were small children was what Gaza looked like today. There is nothing in the very destroyed city. I wonder if Israel had done something this terrible. It's a long story permitted by but the post-war propaganda I never approved to the Nazi Holocaust, but with that no one can refute. Israel and the post-war scanners have made a world uniform in the opposite direction. Think about it, year 2024, 8 years after the war, Hollywood, a Jewish stronghold, it is still making anti-Nazi movies and published the massacred 3 million people in Asia, and a quarter is a Jew. I am not a conspiracy theorist, but if you look carefully at the public information that is out there, you'll see that the world has been manipulated in very biased direction, and we have been led to believe that it's a common knowledge. Defeated countries of Germany and Japan will be traumatized forever and never to be elected again. So what is your opinion? this area?
Well, I mean, I am not entirely sure if I correctly understood your question, but I mean, first of all, there's no reason to doubt that the Holocaust on the Jews actually happened. I mean, that is given and sure. The crimes of the Nazis in Europe was, on the one hand, to wage horrific wars against other nations, against Belgium, against France, against the Soviet Union, maybe the one where most people died, against the Soviet Union. And the second crime was that they started to eradicate parts of their own population in Germany and of populations of countries that they occupied. And the number one target was the Jews of Europe, and then there were secondary and tertiary targets like Roma people and other minority groups, including sexual minorities, and that was an absolutely horrific crime. Now, the tragedy that we are seeing right now in Gaza is that some of the grandchildren of some of the survivors of this horrible crime are now committing a very similar crime on an entirely different population. And a population, the Palestinians, are not responsible, are not the perpetrators of the Holocaust, but they are now being equated in Israeli society with the Nazis. And that has a very long story, and we cannot possibly go into this in the next few minutes. But the tragedy is now that that survivors of the former victims are now doing something extremely similar, or even worse, in the quality of what is happening, because there's a huge difference actually between the Nazi crimes against the Jews of Europe and now the Israeli Zionist crimes against the Palestinians. And that big difference is that the Nazis, they try to hide their genocide. The current Israel and the Israelis who are implementing these the soldiers implementing this, and the people in the general public, they display a lot of joy and a lot of happiness, and they broadcast this crime on social media, and that's unseen. I've never seen that. And what the other thing is, of course, the horrible destruction, and also in Gaza, and the fact that civilians are being targeted under the excuse of Hamas hiding among civilians. And all it takes for the Israeli Defense Forces is to claim, not to prove, just to claim that there's Hamas embedded in a civilian infrastructure, and then they can blow up. And they did blow up. They destroyed the entire health sector, the schools and mosques and churches, and like the level of destruction is insane. And all of these are horrible war crimes. But on top of that, it's very important to remember, genocide is its own category. Genocide is not actually a war crime. Genocide is worse than a war crime. That's why during the hearings in the International Court of Justice on whether or not this what's happening qualifies as a war crime, the Israeli defense was to say that, well, it's only war crimes happening. It's not a genocide, it's only war crimes. And if your defense is that you're committing war crimes but not genocide, then you know that you've come to a very, very low point in national history. Yes. So I would hope that Western governments stop giving arms to Israel, stop it, and actually sanction it in order to make it stop the slaughter in Gaza, because right now it's really not Hamas killing tens of thousands of Jews in Israel. It is Jews in Israel. It's the Zionists killing tens of thousands of civilians in Palestine, and that one needs to stop.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to continue to the conversation world politics and the world war and the world economy. So every day, so I watch your channel and so you me my new series of the so five. So the so the Trump revolution, and so we need to evolve so that get the high specific stage and so so it was so the fake news, and so we so must get scared to truth and the ocean. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay,
Pascal.
good luck with it, and we'll stay in touch. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have a good weekend.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Keep in touch.